Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzzBeaver channel, current events, headlines that are in the news, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week worth having a little bit of a dialogue about, a little bit of discourse. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you guys and suggest that you click on that watermark down there in the bottom right-hand corner to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you guys will know when the next Friday Vlogs are available, along with additional content that's here on the channel. In gaming, guys, I want to thank all of you who make suggestions and comments about certain games that you have interest in or would like to suggest to me to check out. And in most cases, I do like to check those games out and I do research them. My guildmates, my gaming guildmates from OTG also make a lot of recommendations, and they give me keys and passes and all sorts of really cool things to be able to check a lot of these games out. And of course, I do look into the ones that you guys do suggest. Now, the way I kind of approach this is kind of the way I approach the channel in general, and that is I want the games and the information and the content that I cover here on the channel to have some level of interest to me. Now, the reason I say it that way is because when I present information to you guys, I want to ensure that it's information that I'm familiar with, that I have experience with, or some sort of background in, or have done a level of research competent enough to relay to you guys as best of information that I can, because I want the information that I give you guys to be as genuine and correct as possible. So although there's some really cool games you guys are suggesting, I want to make sure that there are games that are going to be of interest to me in particular, because you'll get better content if I enjoy the game and I like the game and I can present that game to you better, as well as like information that's here on the channel as well. But thank you. Continue to give those suggestions. I appreciate it. Yes, I am looking into Battlefield 5, which I've covered here on the channel. I'm looking forward to that game, as well as Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. So those are the two primary games that I'm really kind of focused on. I'm kind of looking at Call of Duty maybe. So yeah, I definitely have those games lined up, or I have a particular interest in those specifically, but thank you for all your suggestions. So Google had some of the best news that I have heard and have wanted to hear for so long, and that is they are doing away with Google+. Now, you guys might recall a few years back where they tried to meld and mesh and sync Google Plus with YouTube, which kind of sent the community into a bit of a rage. There was a bit of a revolt, because what had happened was they had incorporated Google Plus into like the comment feature and functionality, and you had to either be logged into Google Plus to be able to make a comment, or you had to be in Google Plus to even as creators to edit or modify and filter comments, and it was really a bit of a nightmare. And so what creators ended up doing was they just ended up shutting off comments altogether, because it just wasn't worth it. It was very irritating. It was irritating to creators, it was irritating to the fans, it was irritating to the subscribers, viewers, all those that were visiting. So after several weeks of this kind of torment and tumult, YouTube finally just disconnected Google Plus altogether from the platform. And just the fact that it's completely going away is great news for me. I have not used Google Plus in a long time. It became very spammy, and I'm not entirely sure the coders or even the programmers and designers, engineers, even knew really how it all operated, because it was constantly changing. Now, I mean, it was an interesting platform. It tried to compete with Facebook, is really what it tried to be. It tried to be the next Facebook. But it just didn't, it just wasn't very intuitive. People just, it was kind of a struggle to kind of figure out how all things worked. And they were always changing them once you figured out how they did work. And so basically what I had done was I had joined a bunch of gaming groups. And what I would do is when I would release a video or upload a video, I would then release it to those particular gaming groups. But you wanted to use the share feature, because if you didn't use the share feature, then what it would do is on your main feed, it would list every single post that you made to each of those particular groups. And it was just really kind of a nightmare and jumbly and unorganized. And I'm just glad that it's going away. I'm very happy about that. It seems like very bizarre news to share with you guys, because most of you probably don't even use Google Plus or had used Google Plus, but nonetheless, great news for me. Love it. Great to hear it. Speaking of Google as well as Apple, as you guys may be very familiar from different levels, whether it's from the political spectrum, whether it's from the technical spectrum, or whether it's from the ideological creator spectrum, you know that Google and Apple are both introducing their companies and products there in China. Now, it's important that people understand a few basic things about China in general when it comes to these particular tech firms, and that is that YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and most Western platforms are not accessible in China. So basically what's happening is Google is introducing an entirely new system for China. As a matter of fact, if you go there as a visitor, you can't even, you can't access Google to use Google Maps. They have their own. China has Bilibili, Didi, and WeChat, which is kind of their versions of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube kind of combined together. And so if an individual there in China wants to access Western social media like YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and stuff, they have to go through a VPN. Ironically enough, the VPN is controlled by the government. So they're allotted maybe 1 or 2 VPNs. And you guys may have seen me cover Serpent ZA or Winston, as well as Matthew, Lawai86, and Sea Milk is his name there. They both do a program called ADV China. I will leave a link to their different channels down there below if you guys want to learn more about China in general and how they approach China as Westerners and how they access some of these areas and some of these platforms from there. But nonetheless, the biggest concern for me as a tech person and knowing that this information is going to be there in China, whether it's Google or whether it's Apple, is that in China, they are a communist nation and there really isn't privacy in China. So even if you have an apartment or a building or a business or a company or anything there in China, it really isn't yours. And at any time the Chinese can come in, they do regular inspections, whether it's on the street, whether it's stores, whether it's people, they just kind of come in and do these little sweeps and these little inspections and these little government run type programs where they come in and just kind of look in on things and see what's going on. And the same thing could happen with Apple and Google. Now, I'm not trying to create or generate any type of conspiracies or any kind of concerns, but these companies operating in these countries aren't going to have the level of privacy. So if you have like cloud service with Apple or using cloud drives with Google, it's possible that the Chinese government could have access to it. I don't know how much of the content is going to be there from Google and from Apple, but it is something that I think is being focused on now here in the States. I see the administration kind of talking about it, and also in another way, the administration is going after the tech giants throttling, censoring, and deplatforming certain conservative groups or certain groups of individuals. Now, it's not just affecting conservatives. It is also affecting people on the left and in the center. But nonetheless, I do have a little bit of reservations about Google and Apple being there in China, because I'm not really sure to what extent and how much information they're going to want to share with the Chinese people, or how involved or how deep they're going to be into or their data, how many servers are going to have over there and whether or not it's going to be connected here with the States. But nonetheless, did want to mention that to you guys. While we're on a bit of a tech news week here in the Friday vlog, I want to talk about Portal, which is a new feature that's going to be offered by Facebook. And basically it's a camera and microphone that will record activity that you do while you're in your home or while you're perhaps in your office, or just any kind of activity that you're doing with their little Portal camera and microphone. And I find it kind of interesting because they're trying to somewhat compete with the video platforms. They've been trying to do this for quite some time, and of course it's difficult for Facebook to pull that off because it's kind of a very centralized platform, Facebook. It's really more of a glorified messaging service where you can post and let people know what's going on, or you can contact people directly. And so there isn't like this kind of sense of diversity among contacts within Facebook like you would have, say, like on a Reddit or even on YouTube, where anyone can come by and leave messages or contact you there. And Facebook, of course, as you know, is very centralized. And so now they're kind of introducing this new kind of communication system, which will really just still be kind of a way for people that are already on there to talk with their friends that they're already talking to, or family members that they're already talking to. So I'm not sure how expansive this program is going to be, but nonetheless, they're also adapting it to be able to work with Alexa. or to work there with Google as well. So that's kind of interesting that they're kind of incorporating that level of functionality for it. And it even comes with its own little camera cover, which is kind of funny, because there's some pictures of Zuckerberg from years ago where he has like duct tape over his camera on his Mac and duct tape over the mics there on his Mac as well, so that people can't access it, because, you know, hackers access these things. But nonetheless, I'm not really trying to introducing it as a new way for hackers to access your content on Facebook. I just find it kind of interesting and comical, because we know that Facebook has been selling data. I mean, they do that. We saw that with the whole Cambridge Analytica. I covered that a few weeks back, I guess, when I first started doing vlogs. But nonetheless, so Facebook is going to introduce this new portal system, and I'm curious how well that's going to take off. As of this recording, Hurricane Michael is heading to the southeast portion of the United States. It looks like it's going to make landfall there in Panama City Beach, the lovely panhandle of Florida. Now, I live in the state of Georgia, so we're anticipating getting some of those hurricane winds here and lots of rain. Nathan Deal, the governor of Georgia, has issued a state of emergency for probably about 90% of the state. So the county that I live in is just above the emergency line, so we can anticipate something like 10 mile an hour up to 30 mile an hour winds here. That would be 16 kilometers an hour to 32 kilometers an hour for my European friends there, if you guys want that conversion. But nonetheless, right now, sunny and lovely out. The sun you can see shining kind of right here on the side here. But we can anticipate some pretty nasty weather. Hopefully I won't lose power and such here, because that can be a little annoying. But nonetheless, I'll leave some information about the hurricane down there in the published section below. And that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog for this week. I want to take a quick moment here and do a shout out to the Lost History channel. Congratulations on 100,000. It has been a pleasure doing voiceover work for the channel for the last 2 years, and seeing them hit the 100,000 mark with the Lost History channel is very exciting. So I'm very happy for them. And guys, if you haven't already, be sure you click on that channel icon appearing right there on the screen to subscribe to the Buzz Weaver channel, where you guys can get the continuing vlog series each week along with the content that is here on the channel. So be sure you click that bell as well and select when you want to be notified. And I will see you guys next week.